Thanks so much for joining me on the Slice of Healthcare podcast. How are you today?
Hey, Jared, I'm fine. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'm excited to have you on the podcast as a guest to learn more about the company and kind of how your career got started and brought you to where you are today. I'd love if we could just kind of kick things off with you telling the audience a little bit about your background, and then we'll dive more into FirstDerm and where you're at today.
Yeah, so originally I'm an orthopedic surgeon. So, I used to be a practicing surgeon, and how it all started in regards of me starting a teledermatology company, which has nothing to do with orthopedics, was I had an ex-girlfriend that was a dermatologist, and she was at dinner parties, and she was always asked questions about skin concerns, and she felt this is her time off, and she would be more comfortable doing this like in a setting, like a one-on-one setting, or in this case like doing it through text messaging. So I was always like at medical school, I had this thing called the palm, where you like one of the first PDAs where you like could have all the text and all that stuff on it. So I had like all my medical books was on that. So that's really where the innovation came from, that I knew that this would converge with a camera and a proper PDA like the iPhone that coming out back in 2008, sorry. And that's how it all evolved basically. And then I was in Sweden at that time doing my medical studies, and then I got a scholarship as a PhD fellow to UC Berkeley. So I moved to UC Berkeley in 2013, and then 2014 I set up FirstDerm in the US.
Interesting. And I would like to, if you could dive into more about FirstDerm, give us a great kind of intro into how things started up. What are you up to today? Where are you available in the United States, I guess, as far as state goes, state-wise, and anything else you'd like to share?
Yeah, so we start out the service, FirstDerm is a dermatology service. So it's like telemedicine, but it's asynchronous. So in dermatology, teledermatology terms, we say it's store and forward. So these dermatologists are really busy, and on average they make between $2,000 to $3,000 a day. So they don't want to be like on a video chat or anything like that. They just want to answer these queries when they have time to answer them, and they're very good at picture recognition. So they have then a platform where they see all these pictures. They just pick the pictures they want to answer, and then they answer them very, very quickly at their own time. So our service is basically we answer queries within 24 hours. That's what we promise our users. And then also an interesting touch is that we have our service as an anonymous service. So our doctors don't know the patient, and the patient don't know the doctor. So that causes a no patient-doctor relationship. And that's how we then can practice across states. We don't do any prescriptions. We just tell what people have and what next steps they have to take. What's interesting is that from our data, it shows that 70% of our users, they don't have to have a prescription. They can actually go to the pharmacy and buy over-the-counter medication. There's 15% that have probably some kind of skin cancer that we advise them to go and see a dermatologist to have it checked or have it removed. And then there's another 15% that needs some kind of prescription. And in many of these cases, it's either like stronger medicines, like something which we call Accutane to clear out like really bad acne, where you actually have to have a blood test before I actually start taking it. Or there's like infections where you should have a swab before you start taking the antibiotics. So we're very good as a triage service, but we don't do the prescriptions online. And it's been working very well for us so far. We've had over 500,000 users downloading our app. We've had over 50,000 people like actually using and paying for it. And then over time, we've collected a lot of data and images, of course, which we are now working on and going into. The last 2 years, we've been working on our machine learning. And now we have an AI that we're working with where it's a B2B model where people can subscribe to it and integrate it into any medical platform.
Interesting. So how does it work? Let's say on the patient side, the patient signs up. What happens from there?
Yeah, so the patient doesn't even have to sign up. So it's all there. They just have to upload 2 images, female, male, how long they've had it for, what sex they are, and then there's a free area where they can write whatever they want about their symptoms or how long they've had it or where and what happened. And then they just press send, and then they come to paywall, where then they just put their credit cards in, and then they pay for the consultation. And back, they will get a receipt with a case number, and they need that case number to retrieve their answer. So basically, the case number is like an airplane ticket. You know, your booking number. For you to find your ticket, you need that booking number to find your ticket. So it's the same kind of a mechanism. And we don't collect any personal information. So nothing, no phone number, no email, no IP. It's just completely anonymous.
Wow, that's a really interesting model and setup. That's different than mostly like everything you're going to see out on the market as far as how you structured that. And this is an interesting model in that you're still able to give them the answers that they need, which is why they came to you in the first place. Wow, that's really interesting.
Another take on that, which is even more interesting, is that a lot of these telemedicine companies, since they collect the image and the email and maybe social security number or health insurance, is that all of a sudden every time they're going to use that image or that data for machine learning, they will have to go back to the user and ask their permission to use it. And since we are just collecting anonymous data, we can then use it for machine learning.
Because it's not tied to any one person. Interesting. Wow, that's very different. So you're all direct pay, where someone signs up, they use their card.
Exactly. We're all direct pay. We do have some family doctors using our service where we set up like an instance for them. So they use it on their patients. But, you know, we don't collect any of those patients' personal data. It's just the images that we collect. And then our dermatologists answer that doctor.
Are these in-house dermatologists, or do you have a network of dermatologists that kind of work all over the US?
Yeah, we have a network of dermatologists, between 20 to 30 dermatologists on our platform at all times. And we're actually an international service, so it all depends on the languages. So, for example, for the US, we have English-speaking American doctors. If you have the UK, for example, we have UK English-speaking doctors. But if you go to France or Italy or German, we have then dermatologists that can speak those languages.
Wow. Very interesting. And how long have you been in business? Yeah,
so I first started out with this back in 2009, but that was not a business. It was more part of my PhD research. So I have written 4 scientific papers on this telemedicine, which I have published. And then using that data and those results, that's when I launched the company in the US back in 2014.
Interesting. What is the, I guess, how are things affected as a result of COVID? What did you say?
Yeah, so it's very interesting. So we were the first ones to actually kind of track COVID across the Western world. So we saw back in February, we actually saw strange skin diseases coming from Italy to our Italian doctors. And these were like of sudden blemishes on toes. And we looked at it, and then we read the research that had been coming out of Italy early on. And it's something that's called chilblains, where actually the COVID, what it does, it clogs up a lot of the blood and clogs up the arteries. And, you know, the symptoms that you can have is obviously the lungs and you can't smell and all that stuff. But you also get these skin diseases like these chilblains. So we have these people who like send in queries to us. It's like, look, I don't have any symptoms. I only have these things in my toes. What could it be? And then we sent back, we say, look, this is something called chilblains. It probably has something to do with COVID. Go to your doctor and get tested for COVID or isolate for 2 weeks. And we could see this pattern going from Italy to Germany to Spain and then the UK. And then at the same time when I was in the UK, we start seeing in the US as well.
Wow. Wow, you were at the forefront of everything.
Yeah.
You were seeing things really early on.
And this is what's interesting with a platform like this. You know, if you actually go in to see these cases and see this data, you know, you can see there's some kind of a certain pattern going around. It's like, we know there's that people find us through the internet. So, you know, if you have something weird on your toes, you go, what can this weird stuff be on our toe? Can I ask a dermatologist? And when they put those keywords into Google, then we come up #1, and then they will then download our app or ask us online, and then they will get an answer from us.
Wow. Wow. Okay. That's so do you see moving forward into, I mean, we're in the later half of 2020. What are you seeing? How are things looking as we kind of close out the year for you guys?
So basically, we are in traction wise. We saw that January and February was kind of normal, but it really picked up in March and April and May. And then at the end of May, it kind of the traffic went down again. And now we are kind of at the same level as we were in March, which was better than what it was in February. But we're not seeing any kind of growth. Now it's just kind of steady. But we're not making enough money to break even, so we're surviving on that. Where we're focusing on now, though, you know, we're 100% dedicated to our artificial intelligence. This is where we see where the future is going. Like in 2 years' time or 3 years' time, there will probably be no teledermatology. So my service, FirstDerm, will probably be obsolete because the artificial intelligence will be better than any doctor at getting these skin diseases right.
Okay. Well, I mean, it sounds like too that you're hedging for that by what you're doing. You're going to have that part of your platform where people are actually able to use your AI, right, to understand what their skin disease might be or what skin condition they have.
Exactly. So, and we also seen that it's a great funnel. So when people come onto our website, we actually have a demo version of our AI where people can try it out. They try it out. They get the top 5 answers of what it can be. They can read about the top 5 answers. And then at the bottom, they can actually also ask a dermatologist. So we see that 10% that use our artificial intelligence, which is free, they actually convert to a paying user asking our dermatologist. Either just confirming the disease, or maybe the disease was not there clearly in the artificial intelligence answer.
Interesting. And where can people learn more about you and the company?
Yeah, so FirstDerm.com, and then obviously I'm on LinkedIn, and my name is Alexander Börve. There are not many people with that name, so Alexander Borve. And if you Google that, then I'll come up #1. Okay.
And I'll throw those links into the show notes so people can check it out when they have a moment.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and if they're interested with the artificial intelligence, our business model there is not direct to consumer. It's a B2B model. So we do something called the API as a service, where we then have a subscription model where people can subscribe to our API and integrate it into their platform and then pay per API call. So by today, we've already done 300,000 API calls.
Wow.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. I can throw a blurb about the artificial intelligence piece in the show notes too, if you'd like.
Yeah.
Put that in there.
That'd be great. That the API, the AI is where it's going, and you know, we can screen for 44 skin diseases with this API, which is 90% of what people, the general public, have. and it's the top 3 answers were 95% correct that it's going to be in the top 3 answers.
Perfect. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast and sharing more about your background and the company and the artificial intelligence piece. What's next for the company? Look forward to following the rest of your career and everything that's going on with FirstDerm, and wish you the best of luck.
Well, thank you very much for having me on the show, and just reach out to me if there's anyone that are more curious about what we're doing, or if I can help anyone out in the digital health community. I'm happy to help.
Thanks so much.
Okay, great.